Is it that time?
It's that
Oh, okay.
time. Jess knows it's that time. It's that time to talk mules and donkeys. 3 decades ago, folks, none of us thought that we would be sitting in front of a screen hanging out with mule and donkey folks across the world. But that just goes to show what a wonderful world it is. We get to hang out with mule and donkey folks. Used to be that we'd have to travel and maybe do that a couple times a year and hope that you get to see them on the weekend. Now, every Tuesday, we get to spend time together, and it is a good time. My name is Dave. This is Steve Edwards. Every week, we get together on Tuesdays to talk mules and donkeys. And Steve, how has it been since last Tuesday?
Well, been kind of busy, been fixing things around here. There's always things to fix around the ranch. Huh? I don't know when I had time to train and train and get things fixed. But anyway, we're getting things maintained. Susan has been back in Florida visiting with the grandkids, and it's just been Jess and I batching it. So we're getting by golly. Susan gave me a big list before I left called honeydew list. You know those?
Yeah, and it's not the fruit.
Right. Yeah.
They
It's
build up.
nail this, paint that, fix this. Yep. Yep. So you kind of learn. Let me give you a little hint. I've been married 55 years. In order to keep the fire going, you have to keep wood on it. And that wood comes in the form of, boy, honey, that was a great meal. Or, boy, what hammer should I use here to get this nail up? Yep, you learn.
All right. Well received. Taken. I'm on 17 years, so I'm on my way, but I've got a ways to go. So I receive that testimony and I take it and I will apply it. Folks, there's 3 things that we ask every time we get together. First and foremost, we want to know that you're here. You probably already see folks putting it in there, but your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like. That's the first thing that we ask. You have value, you have worth by the mere fact that you are created in the image of the Almighty. And we want to know your name and we want to say that you say hello to you. So share your name, where you're watching from, what the weather's like. Don't be anonymous. The second thing we ask is that you go ahead and put in the comment section any and every mule or donkey question that you got. We really count on you to make this program go. And the questions that you ask dictate just how great it's going to go. So any and every mule and donkey question that you got, put it in the comment section. We will get to it. And the third thing that we ask is that you share the broadcast. And that's as simple as just tagging a friend or a family member inside the comments, or clicking the share button on YouTube or Facebook, or just clicking the like button. One of those 3 would be fantastic. We're going to get started right off the bat with a question that came in from YouTube. Says, this one's comes from Brookie. I have a question. Why do my cows love licking my mule? Every day he's got fresh licks all over his face and ears and neck from the cows licking him. So Steve, why?
That's a new one on me. The only thing I could think of is the salt that's on that mule, because normally mules usually will get after them cows and get them away. I have never heard of such a thing. That's a new one on me. Are you salting your cattle? Do you have enough salt down there? No, that's the only thing I could think of, because I've never heard of this in my life.
Yeah, I never. I'm still amazed by the questions that we wind up getting on this program because we've been doing it for multiple years now, probably answered a few thousand questions, and we still get ones that we've never heard. So there you go. That's our best guess. Jenny has a question. Says, hey there. Thanks so much for taking the time. Hope this finds you well. Bella is good. She would be better if I spent more time with her, but I've been building a greenhouse all summer by myself. Hubby just had both knees replaced. Anyways, now that I'm more available, I started working with her again, and I'm still having a hard time getting her to pony nicely. She walks faster than my horse and wants to push her way forward, even though I'm constantly working the come along really hard. I'd like her to peacefully walk behind and also beside me, a little behind my seat when we're on the road. Any suggestions? She wears my arm out. Neither of us is having fun. I attached a picture for your reference. We were at the Montana Clinic earlier this year. So, Steve, I'm going to put this on our screen so you can take a look. But what advice do you have for our friend Jenny?
Well, Jenny, here it is. This is the same. This is the thing to remember. It is our timing that's what's important. Our timing. Now, you saw what happened when Jenny and I got together and how quickly she responded. So, like even here right now, seeing the picture, and let me see, can I get a close up of that? Can I get? Yep, good. Okay. Okay, so you got to have a hold of the halter there. So number one, as far as I'm concerned, Jenny will never have a halter on her. Okay, let me come back to never. She will rarely have a halter on her. Right now, just looking at the halter is incorrectly placed on her, and you are holding her too close. You're holding her with only 1 foot of rope. That constantly puts pressure on her. You need to stand back with about 3 foot of rope, and with a properly adjusted halter, you're going to get better results. You cannot, folks, keep going back to halter, come along, especially when you're not getting anywhere. Now, if you're getting somewhere and the mule is responding, your timing is good, her listening is good because your timing is good. Okay, good. But take that halter, hang it on a nail, and leave it there. All it's going to do is continually to give mixed signals to your mule. Okay, it's like me going at this. Mira, este día es tiempo para maestro con los mulas, y los mulas entienden mucho cuando yo ustedes hablen mucho mula. Cuando hable mucho mula, todos los días, and see, if I talk like that, and then all of a sudden I go to
Well,
English.
what Steve just said there is the cheese is stinky. Please flush the toilet. That's what Steve just said. So I wanted to translate for folks. The cheese is stinky. Please flush the toilet.
No. So what it amounts to is you're going back and forth. You're having a hard time with the come along rope, but then you go back to the halter, and the halter is misadjusted, and you're holding it too close. Remember when you was at my clinic, I always said leverage 3 foot of rope, 3 foot of rope. That way you barely have to touch it. Now you saw me working with the other animals and how, like the one mule, where I would pick up a foot, I would ask the mule to pick up a foot. I would pick up my left one and then put it down. You see, because of my timing, I was able to do it. Okay, so take your halter, put it away, and then when I see you next year at the Spirit Clinic, you're going to have a different mule, completely different. Folks, you cannot go halter, come along, halter, come along. I wish the halter wasn't even designed. I wish it wasn't even out there, because I can still remember years ago, old Bill Doherty, and we're talking, 50 years ago now, pretty easy, maybe longer. I come up with a whole bunch of brand new nylon halters. And Bill Doherty said to me, what are you going to do with them? And I said, well, I don't have to tie no more rope halters. At that time, I didn't know anything about a come along rope. Okay. And he said, Steve, them nylon halters are going to get you in trouble. And he was right. They were coming out and people were tying up with them. The horse would get scared. He'd pull back. It was just a flat strap. The halter wasn't adjusted correctly, and people were losing their fingers and getting themselves hurt, okay, because the halter did not communicate correctly. So with the halter not being communicating correctly, you're wasting your time. Hang it on a nail and say, thus says Steve, no. Keep saying no. Use the come along rope. Use it like I showed you, and go back thinking small, and go back using 3 foot of rope, not 1 foot of rope. Yes, your hand is correct. Good for you. We can bump it, but it's also too close. You constantly got pressure upon that mule. So there's a lot to think about there. Folks, you cannot believe the difference it'll make. And if you've been to some of my clinics, you'll see it. When I show you how to use 3 foot of rope on your lead rope compared to 1 foot, it's all the difference in the world in how you communicate.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the question. Want to say hello to Sherman Johnson, Norman, Oklahoma, 70 degrees. Dave O'Brien from East Texas. It's 70 and nice. I'm training mules in tandem with this nice weather. Yes, bring it on. Tom is watching from Lumberport, West Virginia, 58 degrees. Steve, I received my Britchin saddle pad for my friend, and thanks for the leather ties. Love to hear that. Thank you so much, Tom. Barbara is watching. Hi, Steve and Dave. Sunny and in the 60s in Sullivan, Missouri. My mule and I have made so much progress this summer. Can you go over again the tips to keeping things over the winter when it's dark and cold? Thank you. What should we be doing, Steve, over the winter so we don't, when we're not riding as much or at all, so we don't lose the progress that we've made during the summer?
All right. Nothing. You don't have to do nothing. If you built a good foundation and if things were done correctly, you can walk out there 3 months later, pick up on that rein or pick up on that lead rope or catch your mule, and everything falls into place. Now, let me give you an idea. Okay, we've seen the pictures of Rocky, my last little mule. He'd been setting up at Randy and Cindy's for 2 years. You hear that? Not 2 hours.
Steve, did we just lose you? I think we may have lost you there. So we'll get Steve back here in a second. While we get him back, Mare is watching. Beautiful Winston, Missouri, 70 degrees. Let's see here. Hannah is watching from Dunedin, Florida, 76 degrees, overcast and rainy. Hey, David Scholl, gone international. Queensland, Australia, 95, hot and dry. Judy is watching from Gazelle, California. It's 50 degrees with a storm coming in. I'm wondering, what has it been snowing anywhere yet? I know that it snowed, just seemed like forever this spring. Has it started snowing anywhere else? Just incredible how long it took for it to get warm, and now it seems like I've been hearing folks say that it's actually started to get cool a lot more quickly. All right, let me go ahead and Steve, I'm going to send a message to Steve here. Let's see if we can get him back on. All right, here he comes. Hey, can you hear me, Steve? Steve, can you hear me? I wonder. Hello. While we're getting Steve back, I just want to say thank you so much, everyone. If this is your first time ever hanging out with us, we are so glad that you're here. My name is Dave, and you will see shortly Steve Edwards come back and hang out with us. He is, every week we get together and talk mules and donkeys, and so he's working on getting back into the broadcast here. There's really only 3 things we ask. Number 1, we ask that you share your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like today. That's why you see so many folks inside Facebook. That's why you see so many folks inside YouTube sharing their name, where they're watching from, and what the weather's like. It's just fun to know where people are coming from and how life is going. And we've already gone international. Mr. David Scholl, watching from Australia, has taken us international. Let's see. Hey, Dave, I didn't have my power. Okay, it looks like Steve's computer died. Hey, did your computer die? Did the battery die?
Yeah, of all the things I meant to do was to hug in the electric for the power too. Oh boy. Yeah.
No worries. Well, let's pick up where we left off. You were talking to Barbara. She said, go over the tips to keep things going over the winter. And you had said you don't need to do nothing if you've done a good foundation. Pick up from there.
Exactly. Okay. The perfect example is my little mule Rocky. Yep. You guys have seen pictures of him, heard me talk about him. And was it last week? 2 weeks ago, we showed pictures of me with Rocky and the new owners. And then I think I sent you pictures of up in Washington too. Now, I said all that to say this mule set for 2 years. 2 years. Now, his biggest hole was, like a lot of you, if he's out in a big field, he's going to be hard to catch. Will he let you catch him eventually? Yeah. Okay. So we caught him, and after that, everything we did Everything I did, everything we asked for, that mule responded, boom, 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 boom. No problem. After setting 2 years now, before this, every 2 to 3 months, I would go down to the ranch, down to the Andrada with my buddy Randy, his wife Cindy, and I'd help them work the cows. That was Rocky, and he was there. And all I had to do was remind him, okay, here it is, Rocky. And oh yeah, okay. Now notice back here, Rocky, she's brushing him. Notice he's not tied. Notice he's not tied. That come along rope is on there, and that come along rope is on the ground. You see that? He's standing there quiet. He's being brushed, and he's standing there quiet. Foundation training. If you got a good foundation, you let that booger set all summer, all winter long, and come back, and it should go good. Now, I can tell you that when Susan and I was on the road 4 months out of the year, and we were traveling around doing these clinics, our mules were at home. Or I had a friend or two that maybe had a ranch, and I would take them up there and leave them on there, okay? But they didn't get used that much. They stood. But what's the deal? What's the deal is the foundation is there. If you do your foundation correctly, which is not hard to do, there's not that much, okay? Then you're going to be fine. Here's this mule set for 2 years. And the last email I got from her was, "This mule's such a sweetheart," okay? And he was. And I can tell you that a lot of the cowboys on the ranch didn't want to get along with him, the grandkids, because he just kind of fluffed them off, because most of them didn't know what to do, nor did they know how to do it, okay? So, but Rocky, he's a good little mule, set for 2 years, and here it is. So what do you have to do? Nothing. Should you decide you want to do something, put a surcingle on them, put them in a dry lot, put a halter on them, put the bridle on them, and turn them loose. You don't have to be there. Now, when I'm getting ready to come back, and I come back, and I didn't just climb on Rocky and saddle him up. I put the come along rope on him, and I said, okay, Rocky, go around this circle, go around that circle, do this figure 8, pick up all 4 of your feet. And Rocky did it and complying, we were good. If Rocky didn't comply, guess what I did? Bump up, bump on the nose. Oh, gosh. Dave, did I say bump on the nose? Oh, my goodness. Yes. Folks, you'll get to the point that you barely have to wiggle that rope or barely have to bump it. And the mule will comply. The donkey will comply, Yes, at first, you gotta get pretty tough. You got to remember, just like what was her name? Jenny, okay? It's like Jenny. That mule had already been through a pack string. And pack strings, they're not very nice to the mules. They don't want to take the time and this sort of thing to do it. And so you cannot expect to go to my clinic and then in a few months have everything under control unless I'm in your skin. Now, if I'm in your skin and you got my mind there, okay, that's one thing. Okay. But I can tell you that you don't have to bang on them every day. You don't have to be with them every day. You don't. They will comply and they'll go along with you.
Awesome. Next question. This one came in from Gene. Says, I have a couple of your come along rope halters. What do you recommend to wax them once they become flexible?
Okay. What I usually use, just a paraffin wax, and I take a leather glove, and I'll take him and get some paraffin wax on the rope itself, and then I'll start rubbing it back and forth with my glove and rub it in. Usually it's your first 4 foot anyway that you want to go on the nose, and the purpose of the wax is so that it kind of binds up a little bit when the ropes come together. When they come together, and it binds up rather than being slick, the wax actually holds them in place. And then the other place I like to have wax is the last 6 foot of the rope, so that if I have to really bind down on something or hold something back, it won't slip and go through my hand. So the wax helps you to keep things into place. And remember, as you get better with that come along rope, Right now, as you're bumping, the come along rope climbs up the nose. That's not the come along rope. That is you not quite communicating with your hands. Okay? That's all it is. In the beginning, yes, you have to be a little tougher, but it's our timing. It's our timing period when it comes down to this. It's tough with these clinics or these videos and stuff that I do, Dave, because I do it and people go, oh, look how easy that is. Well, it just happens to be that easy cost me about 50 years of figuring it out. All right. So it's your timing. Start in small ways. So I'm Jenny. Here's my mule. I can't think of that big old mule's name right now, but big old solid mule. And I am standing there, and I'm just to the, I'm on the near side, and I'm about 3 foot away with 3 foot of rope. What I want is straightness. I don't want my mule looking to the right, to the left, up, or down. Straight. When my mule complies and I don't have to touch it, I will then pick the rope up and I will go 3 or 4 feet and stop and start over again. I will do that 3 times today. I will make sure of straightness 3 times today. Each time they're straight, and I don't say for 5 minutes they're straight, 3 minutes. Sometimes even 2 minutes, depending on the mule. Okay. So if they're straight, pick up, go to another spot. Do 3 today, stop. A couple of days later, remember, I always tell you, you do not have to train every day. If you are doing it correctly, you barely have to do any training at all. I tell you 6 to 8 hours a week of actual training. That's all. Of building a foundation. So let's go back. I have now done 3 times straight today. A couple days later, I do those 3, and the mule responds really quick. And then all of a sudden, the mule kind of wait a little bit longer this time. Now the mule just kind of creeps and looks off the left. I roll my wrist. The mule looks a little bit to the left. I roll my wrist. I get response quicker because now I'm barely rolling my wrist. Now I got 6 today. A couple days later, I do 9. A couple days later, I do 12. 9 means, 6 means, 12 means I'm going to go off a ways, 1. I'm going to go off another ways, 2. I'm going to go off another ways, 3. I may go to the right, go to the left, but I've done 3, and I stopped a different place. Now, here's the thing, folks. You move 2 feet, and it's a whole nother world for the mule. All new things everywhere. Yes, 2 feet. Now, I can tell you, and it's a well-rehearsed story by now, that me and this mule were going through this same gate by this ranch. Over by this gate, there's a stump. That stump had probably been there 100 years. That mule had gone through there every day, and that stump was there. That mule went to go through that gate one day, and all of a sudden, that stump grew legs and attacked him. What happened? There was a little weed that had grown up next to that stump, and that little weed caught his attention, and he jumped from it. Little weed, this much. Now, he didn't cause a big havoc, but he caught it off guard. He went like this. He didn't jump, feet didn't move much because of my timing, but the weed caught his attention. You move these animals 5 feet, 2 feet, it's a whole nother world. So now you go back to straightness again. I move 2 feet to the right. I move 3 feet to the left. I move 2 feet to the right. I've done it 3 times. I'm done today. Next time I go to train, I do those 3. Everything's good. I do 3 more. Now I've done 6. What am I looking for? straightness. What am I looking for? I barely have to touch the come along rope. Notice I'm not saying use a halter. Get away from that halter. Hang it up on a nail. There it stays. The halter comes when you have done a good job of foundation training. Now, expect this, folks. If this is a 10, 15-year-old mule, 5-year-old mule, they've had how many years of somebody doing it wrong? And now you expect to get it done in a matter of a few hours? No. See, that's one of the things. You bring these animals to a trainer and give them 90 days. Well, that'd be fine if it was a colt. But you got one with 90 days worth of problems. They can't fix everything in 90 days. Okay, they can't. And most of it, believe it or not, folks, yeah, it's you. You're the problem. That's right. It's your communication. I can climb into any corral. Anytime I went to go do a clinic someplace, David, I would go do a clinic, they would say, do you want to get the mule out and work with him first? I'd say, no. I want people to see him in the raw, what he's doing, when he makes a mistake. And I take the teachable moment to fix the problem. Period. Okay? But it all starts with me and that mule and me saying, I am the herd leader. We're going to be straight. Period. Start there first. Once you get 12 done, okay, and they're standing still, straightness, not looking to the right or left, now I can take the mule and I can go over an area. I can set up a trail course and I'll have them cross over top of things, jump in the back of a trailer, standing loose, okay? I've got pictures being sent to me, Dave, just recently. It's been great. Here the shoer is working with the shoeing, and the person is holding on the lead rope, and guess what? The lead rope is hanging down, touching the ground, and all they're doing is holding the end of it. Yes, you've got to allow the mule to make a mistake and wiggle the rope and fix it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate the question. Appreciate the answer. Mare is watching, says 70 and beautiful in Winston, Missouri. Sherman's got the question, Steve, what do you think about a Mustang mare mother? Have you ever trained a mule out of a Mustang?
Oh, yeah. Yep, sure have. And I'm going to tell you, there ain't a nickel's worth of difference between a Mustang, Appaloosa, quarter horse, gaited animal. It all comes down to, folks, it's not the breed. Not the breed. It is disposition, period. Now, Mustang, really? I'm sorry, there are no Mustangs in the United States. There are some feral horses running loose. The only Mustangs that are out there are the Geiger Mustangs. And they're on an island. And I don't know much about them. I think it's called Geiger Island even. But they're the Geiger Mustangs. They are the true Mustangs. Great big old Roman nosed head, short necked, big footed. Today, what we have is horses that have been turned loose by the different reservations, the different tribes. They turn them loose and now they become feral. And they are not the original wild horses. They're feral horses. Completely different head, completely different mindset. There you are. Disposition. And I know all you guys married for disposition, right?
Next question comes in from Sharon. My mule jumped the fence for the first time due to hunters. How do I help her? She is a kill pin abuse animal. Please help me. This one's from Sharon.
Okay. So anytime you have a jumper, take and put you a hot wire all around the outside edge of your corral. Tie little yellow flags on them so that they see they're there. And all they got to do is touch it one time and it's pretty much going to be over with. Now, let me tell you how smart mules are. My old big Shire mule, Katie, and I didn't do as much. I didn't use hot fences that much, but when I have, she actually would go up and take one of her whiskers and kind of touch that hot wire. And if it went bzzz, then she knew it was hot. If it didn't go bzzz, she would reach over and get a bite to eat on the other side. Yeah, they got to where they figured it out, but that's what you're going to have to do. And I'm sorry to hear the mule was abused. I've got a lot to say about that in some of my articles. Folks, just because they go to the kill pen doesn't mean they've been abused. They go to the kill pen because they've been abused. What I mean by that, I don't mean beating them. I mean, they fed them the wrong feed. They put them out in pastures. They used the wrong saddle. They used the wrong bridle. You got the idea? That's all abuse. Nylon halters. You want to be really abusive? Use a nylon halter. Nylon halters should not be in a mule rider's property. Period. Only thing that does is cause problems. That's abuse to me because you pull on them, you pull on. Pretty soon, the mule pulls away. Now everybody says that's what a mule is. They're ornery. They can't be trusted. And that's all wrong because it's man-caused. Man-caused. I can't tell you how many people brought me mules that were trained by horsemen. They had split tongues. They had white marks on them. And if you notice, even my little mule Rocky had white marks on him. He had his white marks before I got him, mainly because he was abused by using a horse saddle. Okay, folks, I've spent a lot of time figuring this stuff out, and I never thought I'd be trying to help people out. But going back to this thing, for your mule, anytime you folks buy something from a kill pen, a lot of times it's the last resort. I've seen it where people have bought some very nice mules because grandpa died. Nobody wanted anything to do with them, and they were quality mules. So they just took them to the quickest sale they could get, and it happened to be the kill pen, and that's where they went. And once in a while, you'll get fortunate and get one of those nice mules. But unfortunately, what happens is most people end up getting the mules that people have used wrong equipment with, and now the mule trusts nobody.
I just put a link in the comments section. Steve has an article all about rescuing mules and donkeys from kill pens. And so y'all can go check that out. Good information there. Next question comes in from Epic. Says, can a mule walk barefoot fine when it's in the snow? So the mule's barefoot, walking. Can he walk in the snow?
Yes. Yeah, no problem at all. Here's the key thing that I'm going to tell all you folks that are in a lot of mud and a lot of snow and this sort of thing. Trim your mules and especially your donkeys. Trim them real short. The problem with donkeys is they have the worst foot that you can get on an equine. They are severely contracted. You can see that in the rings and how they're shaped. And there's a big, deep hole up underneath the bottom. And so all of that stuff balls up and you got it. So if you trim them short, the snow and the mud will not ball up underneath it. Now, can you take and use shoes on them in the snow? Yes, you can. Done it, been there, done that. No problem at all. Come with me sometime to the Grand Canyon and go off the side of that thing with the ice. There we have a special ice shoe that we use. So going on, when it comes down to these animals, if we trim them short during the wintertime, it will do several things. One, it'll keep them cleaner. And here's the biggest problem that we have is keep the fungus from building up in there. You'll see there's kind of a white that starts getting built up from a lot of moisture and stuff. And that can happen all year long, okay? When you can start seeing this white powdery stuff, just kind of clean it out and pour a little bit of peroxide on it, and it'll help clean it out. But that's a big problem with equine. So going back, yes, trim them short, keep them trimmed short during the wintertime, and you'll do just fine.
All right, hopping back over to see who's hanging out with us today. We've got, while your computer was down, David Scholl is watching today, all the way from Australia. So always good to hear from him. Let's see here. Judy is watching from Gazelle, California, 50 degrees with a storm rolling in. Polly's watching from Barnesville, Minnesota, and 54 and beautiful. Grateful for the nice weather this time of year. So Jenny's chiming in. We shared her photo earlier on. Sorry for the confusion. Bella's picture was taken the day that I got her. I have only used the Come Along since the Montana clinic. She leads fairly well from the ground, but when ponying, she's unmanageable. And yes, it's snow here in the mountains in west central Ohio. So it sounds like she got the message, and that picture there was just what the previous owner was using.
Jenny's not from Ohio. She's from Montana.
Let's see here. Oh, she said it's snow here in mountains west of central Idaho, is what she said.
Oh, Idaho. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. She's right there on that border. Jenny, I mean, let me tell you, she had a tough mule there, but she's a tough gal too, and she can do that. Well, I'm glad that she wasn't just doing that. Go back to Jenny, what I was just talking about, and thinking about the other things that we did in Superior, Montana, and that was this. Okay, and this is really important. Do the 3, 6, 9, 12. That's really important. And then also do what comes with the video, where I show you to go around in circles, get to where you're using less and less of your hands, and you'll get it, Jenny. I mean, you've got a tough mule there. That's something that can't get overnight, and just keep going at it. And then if you really have a place that you could do it, folks, I tell all of you, take that surf single, throw it on, put a rope halter on, turn them loose in a small area. They don't have to move. Okay? They don't have to move. They can be in a 10 by 10 pin with that surf single, with that adjusted rope halter, or with the mule rider's martingale. They can be in a 10 by 10 pin. The main thing is this, is it keeps them tuned up. Okay? It keeps them really refined. Now, go back to Rocky. Okay? She's going to be doing the same things. She's going to be using surf single and stuff. But Rocky, you got to remember, I spent 8 years with him. 8 years, yeah, that I was around that mule. So I kept him fine-tuned. And every time I would go to get on him, before I would even get on him, I would use a lot of times the surf single. A lot of times I just use the come-along hitch, saying, okay, Rocky, where are you today? What's going on with you today? Are you going to give? Are you going to be stiff? What's going on? And I'm going to tell you, folks, weather has a lot to do with it as well. It does.
Let's see here. Mr. Accordion Lover, Jody and Larry are watching from Walla Walla, Washington. BK Cooper's watching from Marin County, California. The weather is overcast with a storm on the way. Dory is watching. Great to join you tonight. It was 60s, sunny, leafy, and windy in our Virginia area. Myra's watching. Hi, guys. Cool, sunny fall day here in Southern California. Hoping for the rain predicted this weekend. Cowboy Ken is watching. 45 and clear in windy in Connecticut. Ginger's here. Good to have you here, Ginger. Hey, from cold, overcast Georgia. Barbara says, thanks so much for your help and advice. I use the come along anytime I work with my Molly. She is so used to it. Hey, David Pengelly. Beautiful day here in Manchester, Georgia. Having a little bourbon and enjoying your show. Great stuff. Thanks so much. Mr. Accordion Lover says, Rocky is a superstar and we love him. Okay, there you go. Those are the new owners there, Jody and Larry.
Yeah, that's Jody and Larry. They are the new family members of Rocky. And Rocky hit a gold mine here. I wasn't sure if I even wanted to get rid of Rocky. I was yes and I was no. My wife looked at me. She said, Steve, that's your last mule, you know. Don't you want to just bring him here and just spend time with him and stuff? I said, you know, it's one thing me doing that, but it's another thing somebody enjoying this mule. Somebody really needs to enjoy this mule. I could take him farther, but he's as good as he needs to be for everybody out there. Okay. Can I rope off of him? Yeah. Okay. Can I go hunting with him? Yeah. Can I do like I did with Jody? Yeah. She just started going. And do we have a picture of Randy's grandson from Western Horseman? And I want to show you folks, okay, here is Randy and Cindy's grandson. I think he was about 10 years old here. And look what he was riding, Rocky. Okay. There again, Rocky was dependable. He wasn't I love everybody. No, just go get the work done. Go get the work done. He's that way. Now, Jody's been loving up on this mule. And I think Rocky's getting more loving than Larry is. But I ain't going to touch that no more. But you see that, folks? What I'm telling you is, if the mule has a good foundation, I don't care who's on him, he's going to respond. Now, if you're incorrect, as Jody found out, if you're incorrect, he's not going to respond. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I was setting up the saddle, and Jody says, "Can I hold him?" I said, "Sure." Well, pretty soon, Rocky was moving, and I'm trying to saddle. And Rocky would move. She would wiggle the rope a little bit incorrectly, and then she would move back out of the way because Rocky was stepping in her space. What was Rocky doing? I'm the herd leader, and Jody, you are my herd. So he was little by little moving her out of the way, and I was trying to saddle. Now, after I love setting this up like this where people can see where their mistakes are and how quickly it can take to get them both correct and not correct. So then I went over and I turned the mule. Remember I told you, you move them 2 foot or 3 foot, it's a different world. I moved him to a different spot. I dropped the lead rope on the ground, and the mule never moved after that. What was it? It was Jody holding the mule too close, and the mule was responding to that pressure and moving forward. It was Jody allowing that mule to go ahead and push her and saying, "I want you over here," where he was the herd leader. So she learned really quick, okay? And then we went back over and we messed in the pen and things like this. We did things. And then here was the good thing. The next morning, they were loading him up to go back to Washington. And they jumped him in the trailer, and he went in there just fine. He hadn't been in the trailer in 2 years. You get this, folks? He had a foundation. Jumped in that trailer, hadn't even been in that trailer. And do we have any pictures of him in that trailer? I don't know if we did or not. Yeah, they got some video. They had a camera in the trailer. And here's Rocky standing, not tied. Not tied. Now, you folks, you hear me say this stuff, but then the proof comes down to it, and Jody and Larry can hit the button to tell me if I'm a liar or not. But they went all the way to Washington, and they were in a car accident on top of that, where they got hit, T-boned on the side on their way up, and they had to do some fix and repairs and get back on the road. But now, that mule stayed in that trailer untied during that whole travel time. And Jody and Larry probably click on there and say if I'm telling the truth or not. But there you are. Folks, the things that I'm telling you, they can be done if you just go by the 3-6-9 theory, 3-6-9-12, and then you start getting the idea of asking, telling, demanding, comfortable, uncomfortable. Those are all natural ways to communicate with your animal. And when you start getting that, it's poetry.
Awesome. Hop back on. Let's see here. Hey, Steve Brady, Delta, Colorado, 60 degrees and BEA. Beautiful today. Jim is watching from Western Maryland, 52 degrees and clear. Kathy is watching from Houston, Texas, 71 and cloudy, but at least the rain has stopped. Jeff is watching from New York, 30s, rain and muddy. Peter is watching from Vass, North Carolina. Nice 60-degree day. Scott from South Carolina, 60 and sunny. Steve, how do you shoe a mule if you're riding in a lot of slick rock?
Well, we got here in Arizona, we got volcanic rock. We got slick rock, a little bit of everything. I'm going to tell you that the shoes, the biggest percentage of the time, just normal shoes. And I use St. Croix shoes. And I think they're a great shoe. They're easy to shape. But St. Croix is really a good shoe. But I rarely put any borium on them. If I use borium at all, it's only because of the ice on some of these trails. And we did up the Grand Canyon. We used Drill Tech and we used borium as well. And they were shod that way simply because of the slickness of the trail. Is really important. But otherwise, I just put normal shoes on them. And I only put 4 nails in my shoes, folks. That's really important for you to understand. Dave, don't we have some pictures? Yeah, we done that last week, didn't we? Of the foot and the shoe and this sort of thing. Okay, and this is really important, folks. When you are going back to this, should I put shoes on with the snow and stuff? If you are doing corrective shoeing, you do not want to have that shoe off for very long, because here's the problem. When that foot gets wet, it's going to expand. When it gets dry, it's going to contract, okay? And if you are trying to shape a foot, it's important that you stick with it until that shape is there. Now, yeah, that was a pretty sad foot. I mean, sad. And let's see it straight up and down, nowhere near right. It needs more angle to it and stuff. But here's the shoe getting on there. And notice there's only 4 nails. There's 2 nails here, 2 nails on the other side. 4 nails is all you need in a mule shoe. Now, here's the thing. Normally, those nails are not back this far, okay? Normally, those 4 nails are up toward the front so that you can have expansion of the heel. But what we were looking for here in corrective shoeing, we want the toe to go out. You see how the toe is blunted down. We want the toe to go out. So we did not put nails in that area to allow that hoof wall to go out. That's what we did. So then we can look at that other of the foot. I think it's just above that. Okay. Notice how, can we get in there closer? Notice how that shoe is outside and going ahead. Not much, just a little. That's going to encourage that toe and that hoof wall to grow out. And this time next year, it's going to be a whole different foot. The animal is going to be comfortable.
There you go. Cruising right along here. Tamara is watching. I asked last week about rearing, but I lost connection. You asked about my mule being over bridled, but I forgot to mention she is only a yearling, so not under saddle. She is rearing on the ground in the halter, usually with me jogging next to her or when other horses are moving around in the same area.
Okay, this is Tamara from Australia.
Yep.
Okay, there we are. Okay, here's the deal. Okay, folks. Flight and fright. Flight and fright. That is the tool that the equine uses to get away from what's perceived to be a problem. Okay, the problem is, in this mule's eye, is Tamara with the rope. All right? And if they can't go the right, they can't go the left, they can't go forward, they can't go backward, they're going to go up. That's what they're going to do. Okay? Is that scary? Oh, yeah. Because you can have them come down on top of you and pound on you. Yep. Been there, done that. Yeah. Don't want to do that no more. So let's go back. So it's this colt's perceived problem that he's in trouble. So I would start saying, Tamara, start to use less. In other words, go back to what I was talking about with Jenny earlier. Stand there quiet. We're looking straight ahead. We get where we're nice and quiet. We're not looking to the left. We're not looking to the right. We're not looking ahead. Then we go to the right, 3 steps, 10 steps, and we do the same thing, straightness. In other words, start small. If we're jogging and the mule is being a problem, we do not have our foundation correctly. if we are leading them with another animal and we can't get them to respond, our foundation is not there. In other words, folks, what we tend to do is set this goal, which is not attainable, because it's not attainable for the person on the other end of the lead rope. They're not seeing the small things. They're not seeing that mule's eyes look to the right. If his eyes look to the right, guess what? His nose is going to go. If the nose is going to go, what else is going to go? The neck. If the neck's going to go, what's going to happen is the shoulder. If the shoulder, you see how it connects? So you have to read these animals and be ahead of them. So Tamara, going back to your little horse, standing there, and your little mule, standing there nice and quiet. And with a colt, we're talking split seconds. He doesn't look to the left, doesn't look to the right, looks straight ahead, and he's quiet. For the count of 5, I move off a couple feet. I do it again. Look to the left, look to the right. If he doesn't do that and he's straight and he's quiet, at the count of 5, I'll move him off to another spot. He doesn't look to the right, doesn't look to the left, looks straight ahead to the count of 5. I'm done today. That's my 1. That's my 1, 3. The next day I do the same thing. I do those 3. They're good. I'll do 3 more, making 6. Next time I do it, those 6 are good. I'll have 3 more, making 9 into 12. Got that? Okay. Again, folks, it is my timing. It is your timing that helps to communicate with your mule correctly. And do it, again, go back to this. Jeannie, listen to me. Okay. And others, listen to me. Not 1 foot of rope, 3 foot of rope. Feel the difference. Have somebody hold on to the rope. You hold up close and ask them what they feel. And then you come back 3 foot and ask them what they feel. I'm going to tell you, they feel more comfortable at the 3 foot than they are the 1 foot, because they can constantly feel the pressure. And just think about it on the mule or donkey's nose. They constantly feel the pressure. I'm trying to make you all think not big. I'm trying to get you to think like a fly, small. The slightest touch, easiest touch will get you more. Now that Rocky mule, I let him set, and all I had to do was just start doing my normal thing that he knew. Boom, 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 boom. I go off to a gate, side pass, we open a gate. I never got off to open gates. If we were working cattle with, it's usually Randy and I that was sorting, okay? When I put a leg on Rocky, I barely pick up on them reins, barely pick up on them. In other words, attention, Rocky, we're going to do something. Then what else would I do? I would put a leg on him. I'd put the left leg on him, he'd move to the right. Put the right leg on him, he'd move to the left. Move my leg a little bit forward, the front end would come over. Move my leg a little bit back, the back end would come over. My hands stayed quiet. That responsive. Okay? That responsive. Good little mule and consistent. All I think that Jody needs to do is get to where she can start saying one day, all right, it's time to ride. Okay? And just take your time and enjoy it. And that's what Jody's doing. One of the things that keyed me with Jody, she says, I like to do groundwork. Oh, man. That is music to my ears. Music to my ears, because if you can do groundwork and you get refined with it, when you climb up in your saddle, your hands already understand what needs to get done.
Next question. This one came in from Crazy Horse. Says, you may need to explain what founder is for me. I don't know. Let's see. Can you explain what founder is to me? I don't know why I can't keep animals in pasture.
Okay. Founder can be a variety of things. Pasture, okay, creates grass founder. So you have a feed that is high in sugar, carbohydrates, and that carbohydrates then will turn into a sugar, which, as we all know, turns to fat. And I can see all of us Americans are right there, right? Okay, let's go back. And when that does that, with mules especially, because of their daddy, the donkey, is they will start developing fat pockets along the crest of the neck, dock of the tail, down the ribs. Now, here's the problem, okay? And horses are real bad about getting it on the neck. The crest of the neck is where they get grass founder. You'll see the neck flopping over even on donkeys because of the founder is so bad. It can also get real bad if it's the first spring part of the year when the carbohydrates are really heavy in grass and feeds, and they eat that feed, and then the heat from that goes into the hoof. I've actually seen hoofs, outside hoof walls, actually get fluffed off, and the animal goes crippled because of that. Look up sometimes, folks. Go on your internet and put grass founder and see what it has to say. It's not just me saying it, folks. It's veterinarians all over. I can tell you that the veterinarians that I know, the old guys that I knew when I was really staying with this stuff, they always told us all, no alfalfa, okay, and grain only when you're using them. It's not like it used to be, folks. Used to be you grained them animals every day so that you kept them up, kept them hard. They went out and plowed fields, or they went out and worked cattle. We don't have that today. We got Fluffy today, okay? Fluffy's a pet. He's not a tool. But I can also tell you that many a farmer or many a rancher that I know that actually founded their animals didn't know why until years later. They didn't realize turning them out on the pasture or feeding them too much corn and grain crippled them. They didn't realize it because the animals then would barely make it to 10 years old and would be crippled because of that founder. So what is it? It is too much carbohydrates and it's too much feed. They don't need it. They don't need to be out there in that pasture. Now, let me give you a little test. I want you to eat at your favorite smorgasbord for the next 3 months and tell me how many pounds you gain. Yep. Same thing you're doing with these mules. Same thing you're doing with these donkeys and these horses. Turn them out on the pasture. They're all way too fat. I've never had a veterinarian tell me yet that he's gone to a place where they had these animals in pasture and he was happy about it. Now, you're butchering a cow, you're butchering a steer, turn them out there because they're only going to be used for one thing, and that's going to be a steak on my table. Yes, sirree. But your mules and donkeys, they need to be in a small pen where you can maintain the feed. You cannot, and listen, folks, looking at their poop and their urine and how much water and how much feed they take tells you how healthy these animals are. I've got a couple buddies even today that are overfeeding their animals and have gone through colic several times, yet they keep on feeding alfalfa hay. Even though the veterinarian tells them, don't do it, they're still doing it, okay? Anyway, folks, all I can do is share, and then you all make the decisions from there.
Roger's watching from Milan, New York, 28 degrees and cloudy. Tamar says, hello from Elora, Queensland, Australia. Hot and dry here. Ginger says, I ordered my come-along and a muzzle for my stud, Jack. Can you explain the importance of the muzzle more?
Okay, the importance of the muzzle is to keep that jack from latching onto you. Yeah, because jacks bite, and when they bite, I've got a friend of mine that doesn't even have a muscle right in here because a jack literally tore it off, okay? They are vicious. They can be horrible. When it comes down to breeding time especially, I'm going to tell you, some of you women, you know what time of year you don't want to be out there. You stay away from these jacks because they can be horrible in so many ways. So the reason you're putting a muzzle on him is to protect you from them biting you.
All right. Jerry is watching. We gave my wife's mule to a friend of mine at work. My wife has not ridden him for 2 years. I still ride my mule and occasionally rode hers. He is so much happier at our friends that they use him. And that just goes back to what you were talking about with Rocky. Hey, don't you want to keep him, spend some time with him? I want that animal to be happy, but I want more so than that, I want people to enjoy him in ways that I wouldn't be able to. So that's great, Jerry. Also, at 62 here in Indiana, love your show. Let's see here. Mr. Accordion Lover, you are absolutely correct. He is a happy boy. Jerry says it was a hard decision, but best for the mule. Yolanda, hey, Steve, you got email. Yolanda's taking us international as she always does. Here, it's wet, rainstorm, depressing weather. But Yolanda, I know you've got the spirits of the Netherlands high and dry, even though it's wet and rainy out there, because that's just what you do. Polly says, my neighbor had his bit off by a jack years ago. It was lucky, or it was horrible. He is lucky to be alive. And she was talking about his arm. Well, that's the note that we're going to end on. Yeah, that's not fun, but that's the note we're going to end on. Today was a great program, as always. We're so glad that you choose to spend a little bit of your Tuesday with us. This is the week before Thanksgiving. I think next week is Thanksgiving, isn't it, Steve? Is it next week or is it the week after?
Yeah, next week, I think it's Thursday, isn't it?
Yeah, let's see here. Thanksgiving, November 23rd. So, yeah, next week is Thanksgiving. And so I would just encourage you to consider in the days leading up to it, take some time, quiet time to yourself. Maybe instead of turning the radio on, maybe just leave it quiet. If you're used to walking with earbuds in, maybe take those earbuds out. If you're used to kind of chatting with people, maybe get some time away and just start to consider and just really reflect. What is it that I'm thankful for? And if there's people that you're thankful for, good grief, tell them, let them know. Yep. Ask God to give you the words so that you can show your appreciation. We're so grateful to you that you spend your time here each and every week, and you will definitely be in our thoughts this next week. Steve, anything you want to say before we're all done?
No, you just took the wind out of my sail, buddy. Perfect words. Thank you. Do we need to be praying for this United States? Yes. Are we seeing some horrible things throughout the world? Yes. Is it the end of the times? I hope so, but it doesn't make any difference. What it tells me is that I need to be alert and that I need to be sharing my Savior with people so that if things do come unglued, when we're flying to the by and by, I can say, thanks a lot for listening. Let's keep on going. Happy trails.
Happy trails. Take